Okay, guys, welcome to this unusual segment here on the Extra Point. We are going to talk some Sweet 16 matchups. I'm Nick Brake. You probably heard my voice a lot on the show. You never see my face. I hope I look like what you wanted me to look like. I've got Jamar Money Schnepp and Mike Stamper here. Okay, so we've got 4 games coming up tonight. Quite possibly the most intriguing one is the one that Vegas has as the most lopsided. It's St. Peter's playing against Purdue. Jamar, you have fallen in love with St. Peter's, maybe because they beat UK. You're not a big UK guy, but what do you think about this team? Do they have a shot beating?
I love the Peacocks, and defensive and offensive analytics are just kind of crap because they play hard and they play well on offense, and I think that's something that shocked people against Kentucky and against Murray State. And Purdue can't play defense, so I think it could possibly happen. They could be the only 15 seed to make it to the Elite Eight, so it might actually happen.
Well, we kind of talked about this when they beat UK. They're good against a team that has that one big guy, Oscar Tshiebwe. As you said, quote, they let him get his and then keep everyone else down. Is that sort of how you think they will with Jaden Ivey?
Yeah, I think they might just let him get his 20 or so and just make everyone else around them beat them. Even though Purdue's not a one-man show necessarily, they'll let him do whatever he wants, but just make everyone else step up, which it's like their specialty, and it works for these little small teams. It works.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next one. Mike, you don't give Providence much of a chance against a blue blood like Kansas, do you?
I don't, but I think this game could be pretty close. I don't see it being a blowout, but I don't think Kansas will win this by more than 8. I think Providence has showed some good fight. I think they've been a good team all year. Like they've kind of fell off towards the Big East tournament, but I think they've shown flashes this year that they were a top 10 team. I think they could keep this close, but I just don't think Kansas can lose this game. I think they're gonna just overpower them. I think they just have a lot more star power and just.
So you say that because Creighton gave them a scare, and I think if Providence just can do some of the same things, because Creighton kind of just fell apart at the end of the game, just started making stupid mistakes, taking stupid shots. If Providence doesn't do anything like ridiculous, they might have a chance, but I think Kansas are a lock to go. So.
I disagree, guys. I'm not going to give much of my opinion, but I think Providence wins this game. Look, all season long, I've not been big on Kansas. I've never been big on Kansas. Providence, we joked about this on the Red Zone the Red Zone radio show over on Revolution earlier this week, saying, we bet on Providence all season long until March when, now they've won 2. I'm back on the wagon. We'll see what happens. Next up, we've got a 10 versus 11. It's rare to see a 10 versus 11 in the Sweet 16, but that's kind of what happens when you give a double-figure seeded to an ACC team. ACC, clearly the best conference in college basketball. Jamar, are you taking Miami over, Iowa State?
Easily, because Miami showed that they can play with anybody against Duke early in the year and then against Auburn. They just run well. Their guards do everything well. In Iowa State, they held Wisconsin to their lowest shooting performance of the year, but I don't know. I think Miami just all around are a better team than Iowa State.
Yeah, I agree. Like Miami has Charlie Moore, Isaiah Wong, star guards. Iowa State doesn't really have that to keep up with them, and Cameron McGusty as well. Iowa's guard potential is just outclasses Iowa State here. I think they were underseeded all year, and I think that this tournament has really proved that Miami is not a 10 seed.
Yeah.
And Iowa State last year, they were 2-22 last year. So I know some teams get hot each year, but I think it will finally catch up to them. Because I think Miami could run you off the floor. They have the potential just to make it bad. Like against Auburn, they got out of hand. And I think this game will get out of hand if Iowa State just doesn't hit their shots.
Well, the last one is the best one. 2 blue bloods squaring off in the Sweet 16. That's never a problem. Interesting this time it's a 4 versus an 8. North Carolina, we talked about high-seeded Miami in the ACC. North Carolina, which, it was probably the right seeding at the end of the day, but they don't look like an 8 seed. They look like the 1 seed out of this this region. Do they have a shot against UCLA, who you guys both really like?
I think they do, but I think UCLA wins. It's going to be close. It's like within 4, I think. I think North Carolina has a lot of potential. I mean, they were whooping Baylor for the majority of that game.
Yeah.
I think if they come out like that, they could easily beat UCLA. But I think UCLA, I've been kind of high on them all year going into this offseason. I think they probably would work this game out, but it's going to be a good one.
I know people want to discredit the bubble, but UCLA have been there. So I think that will get them over the hump. And North Carolina have these streaky players. They have Caleb Love, who he can give you 20 points one day or 3 the next. but we've seen that their main guy is Brady Manick and Armando Bacot. Once they get theirs, North Carolina will be fine. But I think the overall talent for North Carolina and their coaching will put them over the top. But I think it'll be close.
Yeah.
It might actually even go into overtime like the North Carolina Baylor game, but I still have UCLA winning.
Well, I mean, two teams that have been interesting, hard to really predict this year. UCLA, if they could go back to the Final Four this year, after a regular season that was kind of underwhelming considering people thought they were going to be either the best or the second best team in the country. If they could go back to the Final Four after that, after last season being a first four, maybe we're looking at Mick Cronin as one of the best NCAA tournament coaches in the business.
They're just a little just interesting because they lost to Gonzaga early in the year, but then they turn around and beat Arizona, and then they just have a bunch of just random losses in there. So I think if they play like the UCLA early in the year, they'll get dropped off in North Carolina. But if they just continue play like normal, that'd be fine.
Well, I think maybe that early season hype kind of got to them, but I think through the season they've kind of leveled that out. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though we haven't seen Johnny Juzang return to his best, he's been streaky as of late. But it's wonderful that they can play as well as they are with him being bad. So I think once he gets in his groove, they will be scary.
yeah.
Well, that's terrific. We got a lot of games to look forward to for tonight. Everyone, stick around for the rest of the Extra Point, then go up, get some dinner, get back down to the couch, and watch some college basketball. That's all we have. Once again, Mike, Jamar, thank you. Back to you guys at the desk.